Strategies for pest control in stone fruit. The 5 major pests in stone fruit are the spotted-winged Drosophila, cherry fruit fly, spider mite, both European red spider mite and 2-spotted spider mite, the black cherry aphid, and the plum moth. The males of the spotted-winged Drosophila can be identified by the 2 dark wing spots visible to the naked eye, while in females, the large, curved ovipositor with well-developed dark saw teeth that can perforate the flesh of fruits can only be seen with a magnifying glass. The female spotted winged Drosophila lays its eggs within the fruits of soft fruit species, including cherries, plums, and apricots, but also berries and grapes. From the egg develops a larva that turns into pupae after 5 to 7 days. From the pupae hatches again an adult after 4 to 15 days, depending on the temperature. The spotted winged Drosophila can bore holes even into intact fruits, which explains the great potential for damage. The damaged fruits start to ferment and have a typical vinegar-like smell. The larva develops inside the fruit as seen in the middle picture. When putting the fruit inside salt water, the larva pops out of the fruit as seen in the right picture. The spotted winged Drosophila should be monitored as soon as the fruits begin to ripen and get their typical color. For this, monitoring traps should be mounted in shady, protected places and checked weekly. Monitoring fruit infestation can be performed by inspecting 50 randomly picked and externally intact fruits. The fruits should be checked for puncture holes and egg depositions with typical egg filaments that stand out from the fruit, as shown in picture B on the bottom right. An essential preventative measure against the spotted-winged Drosophila is orchard management practices that promote a dry orchard climate. This includes choosing a pruning system that ensures a well-aerated, rapidly drying canopy, as well as mulching the undergrowth frequently or adjusting the irrigation intensity to avoid puddles. Another very effective preventative measure is using nets as a physical barrier around the orchard. The mesh size of the nets should be a maximum of 1 by 1 millimeter. This measure is, however, very costly and not possible for high-stem cherry orchards. Furthermore, hygiene at harvest, such as removing and destroying overripe and damaged fruit, is very important to contain the spread of these pests. Direct measures against the spotted-winged Drosophila are limited. One of them is mass trapping, which is suitable for apricots and plums, but does not work from the beginning of cherry ripening onwards, as cherries are more attractive than the bait trap. Another strategy is applying kaolin, a white clay powder or slated lime, onto the fruits as a deterrent. The disadvantage of kaolin is that it causes spray stains on fruits and therefore is unsuitable for fresh fruit consumption. Kaolin must be sprayed weekly from when the fruit colors start to change from yellow to red onward. Finally, spinosad is a very powerful insecticide that kills a wide range of insects, including beneficials. Remember that insecticides are the last measure within the integrated pest management toolkit, only to be used when all the other control measures are insufficient. There are 2 main fruit flies, which can attack sweet and sour cherries: the European cherry fruit fly and the cherry fruit fly. These 2 cherry fruit flies can be differentiated by the color and wing pattern of the adult fly, which measures about 3 to 5 millimeters long. The larva of the cherry fruit flies is up to 6 millimeters long and white. The adults usually appear from late May to early June and are particularly active when it is hot and dry. The adult cherry fruit flies lay their eggs singly beneath the skin of ripening fruits, from which develop larvae. They hatch after 1 to 2 weeks, and the larvae feed on the flesh of the developing fruit for about 4 weeks. Around harvest time, the mature larvae leave the fruit to pupate in the soil. There is 1 generation per year. The fly overwinters as pupae. Infested fruits are brown and soft and often rot. The exit holes of the larvae are visible on infested cherries. The fruits are unmarketable as fresh fruits may be rejected by processors. The presence of adult cherry fruit flies can be monitored with yellow sticky traps. The adults are attracted by the yellow color, which mimics ripening fruits. The monitoring traps should be mounted in or on the same level as the top part of the trees. The threshold above which an intervention is necessary is 2 adults per trap. A very effective preventative measure against cherry fruit flies is the netting of the orchard, which also keeps away the spotted-winged Drosophila. Netting of the orchard is, however, only possible for low-stem cherry orchards. An effective preventative method for high-stem cherry orchards is covering the soil with a net. The pupae in the soil hatch, but then die under the net. The cultivation of early ripening cultivars is also a way to limit the damage due to cherry fruit flies. A direct measure against cherry fruit flies consists of mass trapping. Traps with a lure are mounted in the orchard to trap the adult flies. About 80 traps are needed per hectare and are mounted before the expected flight period. Another direct measure that can be implemented is the foliar application of entomopathogenic fungi, which colonizes adult flies, as shown in picture D, and leads to their death. The use of insecticides is the last measure within the integrated pest management toolkit. Applying neem oil in combination with sugar and yeast to promote feeding has good efficiency against adult flies. If no other control methods are possible, the insecticide spinosad can be sprayed. Again, it is a very potent insecticide that kills a wide range of insects with an effect against Drosophila suzukii, but also kills beneficials. Other important pests in stone fruits are spider mites, including the European red spider mite and the two-spotted spider mite. Both are from the family of Tetranychidae and about 1/2 millimeter in size. Both have a wide range of hosts, including many fruit and berry species, but also vegetables and arable crops. The life cycle of these two spider mites is different. The European red spider mite overwinters in the form of eggs laid on spurs and bark crevices, while the two-spotted spider mite overwinters as adult females under the bark of the trees. The adult females of the European red spider mite are dark red with silky hairs on their backs, whereas males are smaller and lighter in color. The adult females of the two-spotted spider mite are yellowish-green when overwintering, while overwintering females are orange to orange-red. The females have 2 pronounced dark spots, one on either side of the body. These spots are less pronounced in males. Spider mites feed on the underside of leaves. They remove leaf cell contents, including the chlorophyll that gives the leaves their green color. Without chlorophyll, those empty cells appear whitish or bronze. Heavily infested leaves turn completely pale, dry up, and fall off. Severe attacks can reduce fruit growth and cause pre-harvest drops on certain varieties. Several generations can be developed per year. Mites develop best under hot, dry conditions. Frequent visual inspection of plant parts is the best way to keep track of whether mites are developing on plants. The European red spider mite is characterized by its red eggs, while it can be detected on the bark in early spring and later beneath leaves together with adults. The two-spotted spider mite creates typical spider webs on leaves in which adults can be found. The eggs are also laid beneath the leaves and are visible under the microscope. The best preventative measure is the promotion of predatory mites like Typhlodromus piri, Phytocylus persimilis, or species from the Hypoaspis family, which eat the spider mites. These predatory mites can also be released in the orchard if they are not present yet or anymore. A correct spraying strategy is necessary in these orchards to prevent the disappearing of the introduced predators. The establishment of natural balance between pests and predators is important. Providing proper growing conditions for optimal plant health and appropriate watering and fertilization, especially when the weather is hot and dry, will help to reduce problems. The black cherry aphid is a further major pest of cherry trees, especially in low-stem cherry trees with rain protective covering and hail nets, as the microclimate is altered and promote the multiplication of the aphids. The aphids migrate as winged adults from the cherry tree, its main host, to herbaceous plants in summer. In autumn, the aphid flies back onto the cherry trees and lays its winter eggs on the trees. The so-called fundatrices hatch early in the year and start to rapidly multiply in spring, leading to leaf damage and fruit damage. The aphids are sucking sap from buds and foliage, which leads to severe crumpled, curled, and damaged leaves. Furthermore, the aphids secrete honeydew, which is spread on leaves and fruits, and on which black sooty fungus grows. The black cherry aphid immigration in fall can be monitored by checking the underside of leaves for winged adult aphids, as shown in the picture on the bottom right. These winged aphids lay unwinged aphids, which in turn lay the winter eggs. Therefore, later in autumn, both winged and unwinged aphids can be found. In later winter, buds should be inspected for eggs, which are oval-shaped and shiny black, as shown in the picture on the bottom left. When temperatures start to rise, the identified eggs should be checked to see whether the fundatrices hatch. Since the aphids are particularly attracted by young shoots, balanced fertilization and adapted thinning are necessary to regulate growth. Furthermore, beneficials that eat aphids should be promoted. These include hoverflies, ladybugs, parasitoids, and lacewings, as shown on the pictures. Direct control measures with plant protection products are possible at different time points of the year. Kaolin can be applied in autumn onto the leaves to limit the immigration of aphids. Good coverage of the leaves, as shown in the pictures, is important to ensure the efficacy of the measure. In late winter, just before bud break, 1 or 2 applications of paraffin oil can be performed to kill the eggs and thereby reduce the starting population of aphids. The eggs need to be covered with paraffin, therefore, a good application on all tree parts is critical. Pyrethrum is an insecticide which works by direct contact with the insects and can be applied to kill adult aphids. The effect of pyrethrum can be enhanced by adding soap to the spraying mixture. Since pyrethrum is not specific and kills beneficials as well, it should only be sprayed when necessary and never during the bloom, when many pollinating insects visit the flowers. Once some leaf mass has developed, neem oil can be sprayed. Neem is taken up by the leaves, and when aphids suck on the leaves, they take up the product and die. There is a strong relationship between the volume of leaves and the neem efficacy. It works better on young aphids. Plum moth adults are 11 to 15 millimeters long, brown-gray with a diffuse pattern. They lay eggs on the plum tree leaves and young shoots. The caterpillars hatch borers themselves into the fruits and feed on the flesh around the stone. 1 or usually 2 generations per year can appear. The flight of the first generation is from mid-May to the end of June, and the flight of the second generation is from the beginning of July to August. The plum moth overwinters as a larva in bark cracks or in the soil. Adults hatch in spring, end of April to beginning of May, and lay eggs from temperatures over 14 degrees Celsius and higher. Fruits are damaged by the larvae. Fruit will start to ripen faster than usual, and if cut open, you can sometimes find the larvae inside or dark excrements from where they have been feeding. They leave holes in the fruit, often causing a brown liquid to flow down from the wound and ultimately make fruits inedible. The flight of the plum moth can be monitored by hanging a pheromone trap in the trees from spring onward, which attracts and catches the male moths. However, male moths are very mobile and fly long distances, so there is no direct correlation between captured moths and the number of laid eggs. If more than 12 adult moths per week are found from the first generation and more than 6 for the second generation, the fruits have to be checked for oviposition. In June, fruits can be checked for larvae of the first generation. The most common control method is mating disruption with the use of pheromones. The pheromone dispensers are mounted beginning of April prior to the flight period of the plum moth. Another strategy used in practice is a direct control by the application of products based on Bacillus thuringiensis species Christaki, which is a bacterium attacking the larvae onto the fruit at the peak of larvae hatching. Finally, netting the orchard is a very efficient control method, but also very expensive. Here are the references for the presentation. Thanks for your attention.